We are MythVision. I'm feeling cool today. I hit 50K on YouTube. I mean, I wear my sunglasses at night. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling good. Welcome to MythVision, everybody. Hanging out in the chat. I'm literally waiting on the contractor to get here to go back inside and start working. I got a few rooms to paint, got some work to do on the house. I wanted to hang out with you, give you a thank you, of course, for making this possible. I'm excited. We're on the up and up. I hear the more subscribers you get, the easier it is to keep climbing. And I'm just going to keep doing what I do best. Educating, learning, really being a student is what I am as a host, and learning from academics all over the place. So I love to do that. I must... I made a huge, major mistake. You know what I should have done? I should have started like this. Ladies and gentlemen, let's chit chat. Let's talk about some stuff. Ask me anything. I'm really, really thankful. Working very hard to do this while running a life and everything else that I was doing for a long period. I started MythVision working as a construction worker. I was a laborer at the time. I moved up the ranks, became a supervisor, and would find time after 10, 12-hour days in the sun to get back to the hotel room, hook up to the worst internet connection possible, and interview with people at the time I found convincing and compelling. Whether it was like Joseph Atwell or it was anyone else it could have been, I was still someone who thought maybe there was some higher power at the time. And I would try to edit those on the weekends and get it out. Then I would go to work, and sometimes I wouldn't post for 2-3 weeks, for like a whole year. And so, look, we got 48 people watching right now. I didn't want this to just be about Derek. In case you think I'm stoned out of my mind because I'm trying to cover my eyes, let me take these shades off for a second. I'm just feeling myself with the 50K. You know what I mean? You gotta feel yourself from time to time. You know, you gotta sometimes like go, you worked hard, good job, man. Keep up the good work. You know, definitely want to give some shout outs in the chat here real quick here. Martin, hi Derek, congrats to 50K subs. Wish you all the best and keep it up. Thank you so much, Martin. Apollos, who's going to be debating on MythVision in like a week. Get this. Let me just tone down the music a little bit. It's a bit sensational. Let's go with a different song. Let's tone it down just a little. I want it to be subtle, right? Okay. So Apollos is debating a non-Trinitarian Christian next week on my channel. And I thought, look, I don't believe, but I also know how to be a good host and be neutral and just host a debate. If you hear a noise, it's the lawnmower. I have the guy outside cutting the grass right now. But Apollos is taking more of the Jesus was divine in the New Testament route. The other guy's saying, no, he wasn't God, and he never claimed to be God. And it's fun. That debate's coming next week. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be fun. So I hope to see you all there. All right, next person. Michael Caruso. Listen, my friend. I'm going to grant you 10,000 myth points right now. I mean, look, my prophecies yesterday came true exactly like I predicted. If you don't think I'm a prophet, go watch that video. I promise you, you'll be convinced, and hopefully you'll write a gospel for all the myth points I'm giving you. Write a gospel, and you're an eyewitness. So, like, how are they going to deny you were there, right? Thank you for joining in the chat, Baron. Melody Joy for being a member. Good to see you in the chat. Justin Johnson, last August I had an open vision of the rapture happening that brought me to Christ. I wasn't a believer until this. Justin, I had a dream the rapture happened, and I was sucked up in 2 different dreams years ago, and I am so glad I don't believe that stuff anymore. But to each their own, right? Like, for whatever reason you feel compelled to have to believe, and I feel compelled that the human mind and the imagination is an amazing thing, and we can believe in some amazing stuff. So I hope the best for you, Justin. And I hope you continue to watch. I mean, even if you're like, that guy's as wrong as anyone I've ever met, but I enjoy his episodes because I learn a lot of things. hey, go for it. My wife thinks I'm wrong about everything, and it doesn't hurt my feelings. So welcome to MythVision. Thank you. Nick, love your work, oh thou leader of infidels. I've spent too much of my life thinking about this subject. Well, you're in good company, because we're all infidels here at MythVision. I appreciate the compliment. We are MythVision. Bud says, hey, 94,000 of us can still make it to heaven. Don't give up. Okay, Bud? I'm not going to give up, man. I'm not going to give up. We are lions. I have a cue. How is these people in power believe in a God, but give you what you believe? Who is their God? What that they believe in? I have a hard time. Let me reread that for a second here. Help me out. Let me take the shades off. Okay. That's the lawnmower again, reminding people who are just tuning in. How is these people believe in a God, but give you what you believe? I'm a bit confused by the question, We Are Lions. People believe in weird stuff. Some of the smartest people you meet will believe in some weird things. It's just human, human nature. And I hope I'm not blurry here. Make sure my thing's straight. Okay. All right. Ray Ashima. I was once raptured, walked right into the middle of a cockfight. Wow. Astonishing. Harmonic Atheist in the house. If you have not subscribed to Tim Mills, please do so. His life is a bit hectic with work, but he has a great YouTube channel. In fact, you know what, Tim? You're going to be shocked at how did I already have it up? How did I already have it up, Tim? What's going on here, man? I was pulling up, and the reason why is like the recommended YouTube channels. If you look, the recommended ones, like I can only have so many, and I was like, I had already filled up them all, and I was like, let me pull up Tim's because I really want to give some shout outs. This is not a just praise MythVision and the hard work we've done here and the things we do. I want to give a shout out to other YouTubers. I want to help grow the community and get others to that place where it's like we have a serious community online where we're educating people and you can learn from them. So go subscribe to Tim. Let me throw that in the chat. I wish there's a mod in the chat that could kind of, post some of these YouTube channels here. Okay. All right. We're done with the music. We're done with the music. All right. Done, son. Okay. Thank you, Tim, for that. I'm going to pop back up on the screen. Just arriving. How's it going, all? It's going good, Zachary. Shady looking. That's what, I wasn't trying to be, but I guess you could say I am looking kind of shady there. I like these shades, though. They're comfortable, so. Thank you so much for pointing out the obvious, Richard. Apollos. My thoughts on religion. Good job, Derek, my friend. Thank you so much for the compliment. Critical Faculty did a live this morning. My friend Hanny. I don't want to butcher your last name. Is it Salem? Either way, I could be wrong about either one of those. I need to pull up your channel too because I think people need to know where to go. You've interviewed some of the scientists that I absolutely love. And learning like things that started to draw me away from my beliefs in particular. Critical Faculty is a YouTube channel. This morning, he had Jonathan MS Pierce. I interviewed him live last night. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. Seriously, he's been a huge friend of mine, and he helps support the community as well. The cool thing is he's also speaking in Arabic, and so a lot of his stuff is engaging in a world that's kind of not up to speed in a lot of ways in terms of the arguments that are being brought to the table, the science and stuff. Especially if you go to like a predominant Muslim country or something like that, you're not going to get like the full-on evolution and scientific approach that my friend Hanny does bring to the table. So go support someone if you believe in what they're doing, like I do. Captain Dadpool, Jesus, you guys are going to make me work here. Hold on. You got to go subscribe to him as well. Captain Dadpool has live stream hangouts and of course is part of the community. Please go check him out. Look at the other channels he supports. That tells you he's in good company. So go subscribe to his channel as well. Good to see you here, my friend. Let me give a shout out in the chat for Captain Dadpool. And yes, he is a captain. And yes, he is a dad. And he has a pool, I guess. I think he's just trying to riff off of the Deadpool idea, I think. But correct me if I'm wrong there, my friend. Thank you so much for being in the chat. Rayashima. Nathan, only 50K? That's surprising. You should have 1 million. You've got the quality and the scholars you have are amazing. You deserve it. Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate the compliment. I'm just happy to have made it to 50, so I definitely know we're going to keep growing from here. The Joe Cool look. You went from 0 to hero, and that is why it is the best channel out there. Thank you, Martin. Hey, 50K, Ricky Johnson. Thank you so much for the compliment and for being a member. Let's give me a quick shout out, right? I got to do a quick shout out to everybody who's become a member of MythVision's YouTube channel. I may have to refresh this because I saw that our friend Apollos became a member as well of the channel. Robert Middleton, Arizona Transplant, Pinch, Samuel and Marika, Vicky, Lazar, William, Doc Pluromanot, blowing me up with very complicated and amazing questions. Annette, Peter, Rufonsis, David, George, Patricia, Stephanie, Richard, Beth, Nick, Andrea, Deborah Grace, Mitch Mazarol, Gnostic Informant, John, Mr. Monster, Native Atheist, Ben, is it Jeff? I'm going to just say Jeff. I could be so wrong, but Jeff, Barrett, Ricky Johnson, he's in the chat. Robert Herring's usually in the chat. Aaron, I Heart Dogs, and Thomas. That's what I got. Oh, it's still going. Flag waving phony. The name's too long. I can't read it. Mike Ainsworth, Tammy, topic discussed. My friend Gary, Melody Joy, who's always cheering in the chat, and then Dalai Lama in case I decide I want to swat a gnat. They're all there to help protect me and be there to keep me on the right track. Thank you for being members of the channel. Keeping this thing going. I really appreciate that. And thank you, Ricky, for being a member, reminding me to show some love to you from time to time. I'm always overwhelmed with what I do that I don't have the time usually of thinking, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to make sure I give a shout out to everybody who's a member on the YouTube side. I really appreciate that. Zachary says, love the sunglasses, Derek, better than mine. I'm going to have to go from back to the shades again. All right. Ray says, Derek goes from spooky to shady. Please bring back Dr. Bob, someone said. I've just made a decision that I'm not going to have him on the channel. We are friends again, though. I am not going to not have communication with people, in particular, Bob. I've always loved him. So I just personally don't want to bring that on the channel. And that's just my own personal decision at the moment. But I don't mind. I don't mind people having comments or things like that. Like, the guy has so much scholarship out there. I don't want to dismiss that. I think people should obviously read and understand and learn from. And so I'm not here to poo-poo anybody. I appreciate the compliment and the comment, if I will. Zachary, have a good night, man. Critical faculty. He's in Australia, so it's probably really early in the morning in Australia. Apollos, FTC, a cool pair of shades. Chilling with Scripture. Congrats on the 50K subs, Derek. Been a proud subscriber for a long time, and I'm glad to be of those 50K subs. Excellent content every single time. Thank you. Amazing compliment. I seriously appreciate that. All right, Justin Johnson. I didn't believe until I had an out-of-body vision out of nowhere of the rapture happening. This happened last August. Hey, man, I can't take that away from you, and neither do I want to. If it's improved your life and it's something that has bettered you in your life, all I would say as a human is just don't push your experience, demanding others to accommodate or comply to your experience. Even if you want to share that, that's fine. Just don't be too forceful about it. I was very forceful back in the day, believing my experience and my understanding of God and Christianity. Like, if it helps you better your life, it keeps you off, let's say, drugs, or it keeps you straight, keeps you doing the right thing in whatever, way, good for you. If it helps you, good for you. For me, I'm looking at this, and it's not the visions and stuff like that. I mean, that stuff can be explained in other ways. And I'm looking at science and I'm looking at natural phenomena to try and explain these things. But having those experiences are profound. I've had experiences. I get it. I just don't attribute them in ontological senses to a deity. I see it as a natural phenomenon that the brain can produce and such, or the experiences of our life may cause us to have certain experiences and whatnot. And that's okay. But Justin, I hope it helps you. And I just hope there's balance there and understanding. Not everybody thinks the same way. Not everybody is relating in the same way. So, hey, man, thanks a lot for the compliment. Harmonic Atheist 666 in the house. Tim Mills. Next stop, 100K subs. That's right. I hope that happens sooner than later, my friend. Eventually, I'll have a plaque behind me, a YouTube plaque, fingers crossed, if I haven't been too controversial for YouTube. Non-believer, good day. Good to see you, my friend. Okay, so since I'm on StreamYard, it comes up like this. But let me see if it comes up a different way on actual YouTube here. I'm having a hard time seeing with these dang shades. Okay, here we go. Where were you at? I'm way up there. Dang it. I'm gonna have to catch up, everybody. Okay, they're just giving money symbols. All right. I just want to make sure I show everybody a little love in case you showed up early. And yeah. Christian Hansen says, what is the meaning of life? Depends on who you ask, right? For me, is actually enjoying the moment that I have in the sunlight here, we call Earth, and this existence that I have, and trying to make the best out of what I actually know and can experience and actually observe and things like that. Enjoying that experience that I think is wonderful. I'm still in awe of this experience we call life, and loving my children, my wife, my family, myself. To me, that's meaning in life, and trying to help others who have been suffering in this same dance that we're all in, and try to help them reduce the suffering. That's all I can do. I don't need an existential, metaphysical, ontological, foundational, beyond what I see and what I experience on a day-to-day life. I don't need that. Well, if there isn't something underlying all of this as meaningful, then there is no such thing as meaning. I don't need that to be the case. I used to think if there is no meaning behind all of this meaning that we experience on a day-to-day basis, then all of this is meaningless. That makes no sense to me now, even though it did at one point. I think we're just like missing the forest for the trees, and we're like, hey, dude, we don't need that. Anyway, thank you. Hit those likes, people. John Robertson, thank you for that. Apollos, new member, giving you a shout out. Welcome. I know that you're a Christian, but just in case you're wondering, you have been initiated into a mystery cult, which is actually going to guarantee you high status in the afterlife. Dude, you're in good hands. You don't have to worry about anything now. We've got you covered. Welcome. Esoterica, I'm just skipping here a little bit. Many congratulations, well-deserved. Dr. Justin Sledge, if you have not subscribed to Justin Sledge's YouTube channel, well, you're just kind of stuck in the dark, and I hope that you will subscribe to his channel. Mark says 50K, wow, is probably your 2021 Halloween costume that did it. Congrats, Derek. Absolutely. You know, how did you know, Mark? How did you know? I have two middle names, Paul and Joseph. Derek Paul Joseph Lambert. I just gave you my whole government name right there. Yes, you can, I believe. You can upgrade. Depending on how well you want heaven to be, after, you can upgrade your membership. And you might want to think heavy on that, my friend. We have massage therapists. We have not like the Ravi Zacharias kind, but like legitimately make sure that you're getting a good body massage. And the list goes on and on. So yeah, consider upgrading. Zachary, I gotta scroll because this thing's going quick here, and I don't have all day. I do have to work on my house. Derek, what is your favorite color and your favorite movie? You said ask me anything. Oh man. So color, my favorite color is blue. I always said it was blue, but I love various colors. Favorite movie, that's a really tough one. My favorite movie. I've been watching shows lately, right? So movies are difficult to really pin down. One of my all-time, like, I really always enjoyed was Tombstone, which you guys have seen my intros with. I'm Your Huckleberry. I always enjoyed that. That's hard. I mean, it's really hard to pin one movie down when you put it that way. So I'll just go with Tombstone. Zachary, thanks a lot for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Hope that answers your question, and don't know how you feel about my answers, but either way. Is there proof God exists? You have to ask someone who believes that God exists. For me, I don't see it. Critical mass, religions make smart people say and do the stupidest things. That definitely can happen. Congrats, Derek and MythVision. Thank you, Iron Charioteer. Let's see. Mangala says, Derek, are you not gay? That's a weird way. I think you're probably trying to write into English. I don't know if your first language is English, the way you phrase that question, but if you mean, am I queer or whatnot? No, I'm not. Nothing against it at all. I'm happily heterosexual, and I know it's a really personal question, but I did say you could ask me anything. So there you have it. I think a lot of people watching, especially with my recent interviews, being very sensitive to issues of women and stuff in history. They're like, he's soft. What the heck? Look, I was raised by a Green Beret in the Special Forces. I guess this is me bragging a bit about my toughness. Was in jiu-jitsu my whole life growing up. I wrestled in high school. I got in many fights. We did a lot of fighting. So you would look at me in real life, you'd go, that's kind of the jock, tough guy syndrome, alpha male kind of guy. But I know that everything I've thought, I'm reevaluating the way I approach the world. And it's like, that's not cool. Like, I really think we're missing out on a whole, there's so many people who are just being undermined by that kind of mentality. And I'm very sensitive to wanting to understand other people's angles. So I get a lot of people go that you're so sensitive. You must be gay or something. And I don't know if that, maybe then everybody should be a little more gay at that point. I think people should be more sensitive. Now, anyway, I'm being funny here, but you get the point. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Give an atheist sermon. We might need to start making those, right? I'm on the phone. Can't pull up YouTube addresses. Sorry. Okay. No, that's how far behind. How far behind. If you mean happy, then yes, I am happy. It's just, there we go with terms, right? His wife is biased. I think we all are. Thank you. Yeah, you were addressing that. Thanks for the plug, homie. No problem, man. You can write the check to 743 Hollywood Boulevard. I'm just kidding. Never mind. I figured it out. Dan Jacobs in the house. Well done, Derek. Next 50K will be quicker. I think it will. And Dan actually did an episode with me where we were talking about like introduction to rabbinic Judaism, post Jewish Roman War Judaism, and what was going on, and like the Talmud and the Tosefta and other Jewish ideas with the rabbis. So I plan on doing more with Jacob in the future. Oh, you were Sergeant, Captain Dadpool says, and I don't have a pool. I'm a dad, though. I was close, Dad. There, I was close. Zachary says, Derek, what are your political views? Do you consider yourself more liberal or conservative? I consider myself more liberal. I wouldn't be pigeonholed in a particular view. I think that some people go so far in either direction that it's like, come on, just too far. But I don't like talking about politics on this channel. I try to remain apolitical, and I try not to let that influence what I do at MythVision. But some stuff you have to get into. I mean, it's necessary to get into some stuff. So I definitely was a conservative, especially as a Christian. I was a hardcore right-wing conservative. Even Facebook told me so. But when you reevaluate what you believe in, why, and how, what positions you stand on, I started to change those ideas as I started studying and learning who I am as a person. And so I started seeing some of the ideas that I agree more with the left on in many respects. But there are also people who go so far left, they have left the room. And so I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. So there's just a lot of stuff there. I wouldn't pigeonhole myself, though. Skip it down here a little. Someone at MythVision podcast, thoughts on Hinduism. I mean, putting aside all the aggression between Hindus and Muslims. I don't know enough about Hinduism. I'm interested in doing interviews with the academics on this side. Because I've been so immersed in Abrahamic faiths, I get it. I haven't really dove there. I did email one academic. Let me show you the lecture that really piqued my curiosity. I had it up actually. Greek mythology, 3500 BC to 80, 2014. The professor is Ken Dowden. And in this interview, he's actually showing a commonality between Proto-Indo-European mythology and the language, how there's a common language trope that goes back before the Hindus and before the Greeks, but that there are common myths in the Hindu myth as there is in the Greek myth. And so I'm interested in having him possibly come on. I emailed him already to go and introduce us into this and show the parallels. There's supposedly a story. Well, we know the Greek story, Odysseus comes back from the war and he has a bow and arrow and he's fighting people in his house. There's something like this in the Hindu myths. And he's showing so many parallels in this lecture. He goes, this is not coincidence. So where did this come from? Did trade routes trade ideas at some point between this time, or do they have a common ancestor? And he thinks there's probably a common ancestor from what I gain. I want to talk about stuff like that and get deeper into it. Great question. The Lambert of God, Joel Pearson, listen, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, my friend. But I myself, which is my Father in heaven, which is also the Holy Spirit, has revealed these things. Something like that. It works if you just trust me. Even though it doesn't make sense, it's there. It has revealed that to you. Amen. Good day, Derek. Congrats on the 50K. Subscribed recently. Appreciate your work. Could you please direct me to which videos go through current positive beliefs about God and creation? Positive beliefs. There's probably very few academics on my channel that kind of drop those positive beliefs about God and creation. In particular, I've always taken for granted and believed God existed and always tried to go out of my way to just assume that's the truth. The reason a lot of people are like, this whole channel is unbalanced. Yes, it is. And I want to address why. My whole life, I believed it was true. When you find out you think it's not, and that people aren't giving enough credence to the arguments against those things, I want to fill that lacuna. In fact, that's why MythVision was born, because I saw content out there, tons of Christian apologetics content, tons of stuff that was out there. And I said, there's lacking content in these areas. And so that's why you're probably not going to find tons of material on my channel that's trying to go out of its way to prove God's existence. Rather, I have an overwhelming bias in the direction of trying to show like why we probably shouldn't think that and stuff. So I admit I have biases. So maybe down the road, there will be more of that where I can have people come on, but I've avoided it because there's so many fundamentalists in that arena that I've been slowly getting over there. I mean, like people like John Dominic Cross, and they believe in God and they believe there is some creator and there's something that is existent and stuff. I interview them, but they're not fundamentalist. Great question. I admit openly I have a bias. So thank you so much. Loads of fellow Aussies here. Great to see. You probably went to bed by now. That's probably how far back I am. Math Pig says, congratulations. Thank you so much, Math Pig. Apollos, be a university student. I have access to academic journals without paywall. I sacked 4 journals for Christology. Good tip for academic research. Yeah, you got to be ready for that debate. Let's see. You're probably talking to somebody here. Why don't you invite Jordan Peterson? He won't respond to my emails. Who's to say I haven't tried inviting him? I'd love to pick his brain, especially when it comes to the belief side. But I imagine having conversations with 8 ancient Greek philosophers who have reinterpreted their Greek myths to make them pretty when they're not so pretty. They see the moral issues with Zeus raping people and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean that. You know, a lot of them are trying to reinterpret that. And I've seen some of his discussions when someone goes, can you live and have a great life, or can you have life without God? And one woman says, yes, no problem. Jordan goes, absolutely not. God is what you aspire to the most, or what you think. And I'm like, this definition that you're using, this term that you're using, God, has so much baggage And what you just did with it is you undermined every previous definition of what God is from every text we ever read in ancient literature, so that you can still use that word and then call it something else. Oh, it's just what you think. It's the highest thing you achieve in your mind. Well, if that's the case, we all believe in God, but that's not what God has always been. So I'd love to challenge him in this way. And the psychedelic part, I've experienced psychedelics. He has this thing about psychedelics where he thinks for some reason that it's miraculous and evidence of God and stuff. I think him and Joe Rogan in some way have that. Not so much for me. I think the mind is a powerful machine, a powerful tool, and damn it, it can trick the hell out of people. Let's just put it that way. That's my opinion. Great comment, though. Constellation Pegasus, man, thank you so much for the support. Always coming through and throwing some love at the channel. You need more videos on ancient astronomy and the flat earth and dome cosmology. You must be a prophet. You must know or have been predicting something. Just to tease everybody, Dr. Joshua Bowen, Dr. Kip Davis, and myself, sometime maybe in the next month or two, are going to do a deep dive, a live stream deep dive, picking apart this ancient cosmology, the dome cosmology and flat earth, ancient Near Eastern concepts in the Bible. And we're specifically going to kind of do a hit piece. We have to. Mike Winger did some huge video. He has so many people who just gobble up. They gobble up what he's saying. And he has really done what the ancient philosophers were doing with the Greek myths. That's poetic. No, they don't mean it's really flat, and like silly arguments. And I'm going to have experts come on and pick them apart and show you why these pastors that are doing this are just trying to make the Bible a modern construct. They're trying to keep it up to speed for modern day because it is wrong scientifically. Now, I don't have a problem with the Bible being wrong scientifically, and I can appreciate the Bible as an ancient Near Eastern document. I can value its mythology. I can learn from the history that and the old ideas that are there and understand, hey, we don't want to do that, stuff like that. Or we do want to do that. That seems like a good move, right? But like they have a worship of the text so much it must remain modern and such. Same thing that the ancient Greeks did with Greek mythology, it seems. Hold on one second. So Jonathan M.S. Pierce has to message me. He has to harass me in the middle of live streams, right? Calling you out, man. He says, get Aaron Adair on for your cosmology one with Bowen and Davis. You know what? I'm probably going to do that. I think that's a good idea, especially he's a scientist. Like the guy's a scientist. He knows his stuff. Brilliant move. I can't knock you for harassing me right now. Go subscribe to A Tippling Philosopher if you haven't already. And by the way, type right now, how many subscribers since yesterday's live stream have you gained? I predicted it properly because, you know, I was connected with Ashra. I got direct connection to the people upstairs. How many more subscribers did you get since that live stream ended there, if you don't mind? Continuing. That's truly unbelievable. And, oh, yeah, get you a Kingdom Hall soon and support Jehovah's organization. Armageddon is around the corner. What are you waiting for? You always drop some apocalyptic stuff. Thank you for that super chat. Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses are just, I can't wait till they finally stop with the nonsense and be like, okay, it meant something else. That's what early Christians, oftentimes did. Some of them just said, well, we got the timing wrong because God's time's not our time. 2 Peter 3. The day to God is like 1,000 years to us. And then you just push it off into the future and dismiss the fact that it failed. Anyway, just Noah, I'm here. Hi, Derek. Jonathan Pierce is very good. I agree. How old are you? I'm 33. Hold on. Jeez, I'm 34. I'm 34. I don't even know my own date. I'm 34. Good day, fella. Happy Saturday to you. Same. Love your channel, Gabriella. Thank you so much. Congrats. Well said, Derek. You're very respectful to people who disagree with you. Thank you, Zachary. Let me go. No, my AC is good, Tim. My AC is good. I got it right. Mr. Monster, thank you for the post there. I look like a Norwegian Viking. Thanks. I'll take that as a compliment. I liked the Viking show. I have no clue what the best Bob Marley album is. I have no clue. I wish I did. Major League Baseball player. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment, I guess. I guess genetics play a role as to why I'm a blue-eyed white dude. Do you guys like near-death experiences? I think they're interesting to listen to. I'm very, very skeptical of buying into them. I'm scrolling down here, showing everybody as much as I can love. Let's see. The meaning is to discover your true meaning and be that to the fullest. Let your ancestry love engine fire away. Hey, if that's what, floats the boat, then float the boat. Hallelujah. The mystery is that Derek is actually an AI simulation who only exists in videos. Joel, only the higher up initiates know this. I'm going to have to maybe knock you down a peg on this one. We're going to have to work you back up. Just like Scientology. Sometimes you have to start over because you show that the thetans inside of you are just overpowering, and the OT8 level that you were at, you're doing some harm by even telling people this. They could die knowing this information. Like, that's how this cult is actually working here. So I might be merciful, I might, but it depends on what kind of dinner you buy me later. Thank you, Joel. Newly subbed, so proud of you. Congrats. Thank you for the compliment. Big congrats on 50K. Everybody's showing love. Thank you. Thank you so much. Atheologica in the house. Derek Bennett, and he has a better spelled name. His name is actually the correct spelling of Derek. Happy 50K, brother. We should hang out and get tour. So for those who don't know, Derek and I are both recovering alcoholic addicts, whatever you want to call us, all sorts of stuff. And he is a funny guy. He actually called me one time and said, he acted like this is so not funny, Derek, but I'm spilling our private conversation. He video calls me, or I called him, and he answered. He's like, hey, brother, what's up? And I was like, hey, man, you all right? Yeah. Hey, man, things. And I was like, dude, my heart sunk. I was so worried. And then he's like, finally, like 45 seconds later, he's like, I'm playing, man. I'm playing. I'm like, don't do that to me, man. He literally wrote a book about recovery without God, like how he got off of alcohol and drugs without God. So Derek's just being funny here, but thank you for the love, man. Thank you for the super chat. Go subscribe. I need to give a shout out because that's who I am. I'm a team player. I want to make sure more people know of these great channels. Hold on. There we go. And if you ever see me sharing stuff like on a community tab and I'm just sharing other people's content, that's because I actually support what they're doing and trying to have them grow. Atheologica, Derek did a 10 actual pagan parallels, and I loved it because even a lot of people who are anti-zeitgeist and like really cautious about parallels, they would even agree on some of these parallels for sure. Like, yeah, that's definitely common trope. I'm posting that in the chat. So subscribe to my buddy Derek. He's practically my brother. Showing you some love, my friend. Showing you some love. Okay, Jonathan Pierce wrote me. He said, by the way, 50,000 is rubbish, pure child's play. I'm almost at 1986. 1979 to be precise. So take that, amateur. Look, man, you're embarrassing him. You're like embarrassing the hell out of me in front of my audience right now. And I'm not okay with it. This is bullying. It's bullying. Derek, do you have Ashkenazi roots? I don't know. I doubt it. I am trying to do a DNA test just to see where my ancestry goes for the heck of it. But that was one of the questions I think Rabbi Tovia Singer asked me when we first met. He goes, you got any Jewish blood? Why are you so infatuated with the Bible? I said, I don't know, man. Derek Paul Joseph Lambert. Social security number 243-445-4467. I just made that up. Tim, listen, if you become the highest initiate, you will already know that answer. So join the membership on the YouTube channel or the Patreon. Social security number. Okay, don't ask anything, but like ask almost anything. Okay, almost. Don't ask anything. Ask almost anything. All right, I'm scrolling down. Someone says, "Say when." I love that scene. I'm your Huckleberry. Say when. Angela's Symposium. I got to pull this one up. So Angela is actually a. Hold on, let me type this out. I'm not able to multitask. My wife can do it. I can't. Okay, so she's actually an academic in understanding the occult and contemporary occult. So let me give you a little shout out here, Angela, because you deserve it. Go subscribe to her YouTube channel. I'm going to post this as well. She is always diving into really interesting occult stuff that I have heard of and used to think these devil worshiping, satanic, human sacrificing, evil people. And of course, she's not. She's wouldn't hurt a butterfly, couldn't hurt a bug. And you learn a lot. She's an academic. So this isn't just someone who practices the occult. This is someone who academically understands and the history behind it. And I highly recommend you go subscribe to her YouTube channel. Look at the people she supports too. I need to zoom in here. Forgive me here. Let me zoom in. I know not everybody has the sight. Okay, Religion for Breakfast, Esoterica. I don't know these two, but I'm sure they're good if she supports them. Let's Talk Religion. You can tell that she supports good scholarship. Please support those that I support. All right. Thank you for that. Congratulations. I'm scrolling down just so I can catch up because I feel like I'm so far behind. I'm left behind. Ask Derek anything. What is the gas going to cost for 2 cars going from Fayetteville to Washington? Good question. I'm suspecting probably $1,500 or something. Like, it's probably going to be very expensive because I'm pulling a trailer behind one of the vehicles. Rum Runner, I love your channel. Are you a fan of Joseph Campbell? I am. And have you seen or read The Power of Myth? It is mind-blowing. So I haven't, and I've heard a lot of academics say that maybe Joseph had some things a bit off in terms of his conclusions, but I still love The Hero with 1,000 Faces and the idea of mythos being powerful to our psyche, to our consciousness, to us as humans. And so I do appreciate Joseph Campbell and others that are in that field because they help me transition from fundamentalism to where I am today and giving appreciation to myth, not just like mocking. I feel like some atheists just kind of come out mocking rather than appreciating, valuing literature, stories, things like that. That's my opinion. My opinion could be wrong, but my perception is sometimes we throw the baby out with the bathwater because we're in competition or trying to defeat people who want to monopolize the meaning of literature that really they're wrong in their approach to it to begin with. And so I'm trying to bring balance with my channel. And I think Joseph Campbell's one of those types who brings balance to the stories without people having to like literally take them literal. Thank you so much, Rum Runner. Okay, it's this thing. Give me a second because some reason when chat goes viral, like it automatically skips down and I can't even tell you where I left off. Forgive me. And let me get to the next super chat. We'll just do this. We'll do this. I'm cheers with my Gatorade laced psychedelics. Not really, actually, but congratulations, Coltastic. Keep up the good work, Jamie says. Thank you, Jamie. I'm going to try and hit these super chats here. Polymathing, new to the channel, absolutely phenomenal content. You have a beautifully shining, seeking soul. Did you gain anything from your psychedelic experiences? Yes, I did. And a lot of it was internalizing, looking at myself, kind of like hovering over myself and what people call soul searching, if you will, like looking at my own person and who I was at the time. It made me want to be a better person than I was being, a better father and husband. But I think what the most important thing I gained was seeing how, and in a different way, because I can do all of that without psychedelics, evaluate myself and try to better who I am and things like that. I don't need those in order to get that. It was understanding the impact scientifically, like how naturally these things can explain phenomena, like our friend earlier who had a vision or they had an experience. Yesterday, when Jonathan M.S. Pierce was on the channel, someone had an experience and they just can't explain it. And I thought, that sounded like my psychedelic experience. So the brain is funny. And that's, I think, the most important point of these experiences I had is how that ties into that the brain can do these wonderful things to give us experiences. And of course, they're so profound, we don't want to minimize them to natural phenomena or explaining things down to a chemical compound or something. But if they are that, and yet the experience is profound, take the experience, enjoy the experience. It doesn't mean that the conclusion isn't that natural phenomena explains this. So I'm trying to marry naturalism and this material world to how we internalize our experience and concepts of these experiences together, so we can still have meaning and value in these experiences and not just, that's stupid. No, but also you don't have to say a god did it. You don't have to say a fairy or an angel or a leprechaun or whatever it might be, angels in another dimension, aliens in another dimension, whatever. Anyway, that's kind of what the psychedelic thing helped me to kind of grasp, is like, interesting. Thank you for that super chat. Really appreciate it. I'm scrolling down, trying to hit those supers. Constellation Pegasus, reach out to the YouTuber Marcus Vaughn. He was laid off from Watchtower Bethel and left to fend for himself. It's sad, Derek. He would make a great interview. His story will anger you. It's sad. Mark Vaughn. Let me write. It's Marcus Vaughn. Okay. Marcus Vaughn. And Bethel XJW. Okay. Thank you so much for the super chat. I will, and I do enjoy listening to people deconvert or come out of cults, harmful cults, high control groups. They don't have to come to my conclusions. Never have I ever tried to tell people that you need to come to my conclusions. These are my conclusions, but get out, run like hell out of high control groups like this, please. Go start your own cult and pick and say, hey, screw these bad practices. I think we have some positive things. We want a community. We want to create your own cult. You don't need them for that. Liliana Stone, congratulations. Thank you, Liliana. I really appreciate the super chat. I seriously do. I saw this when this caught my eye real quick as we're going. Jeffeth, I hope I'm saying that. Japheth, forgive me if I butchered your name. Are you an atheist? By definition, I am. Thank you for the comment. Mr. Monster, have you heard of something new called, yes, I've heard this, Hyperionism? When you get the chance, you should totally look it up. They believe everybody is God. So it's kind of a form of pantheism, but they'll say they're not like theists in some way. And there's a guy, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know, I may be wrong by giving a pronoun there. I'm not sure where they stand, but with like makeup and like art that does this Hyperionism or whatever with blonde, long hair and all of these really well edited videos. I've watched some of those and there's some interesting things. It's a bit sensational at times, in my opinion. Gets a lot of views, gets a lot of clicks. But if that's what makes people happy, go for it. I just don't see any reasons to draw that conclusion. Thank you, Mr. Monster. Grays 174, have you engaged with Max Data Resurrection case? I recently brought it up on my friend Paul Agia's channel, the new live chat one. He has two channels, for those that don't know. Paul Agia has been doing edits, and he's got a big channel. Now he has Paul Agia Live. And in Paul Agia Live, we started to talk about this maximal case that is being brought up by what is her name? The McGrews, Lydia McGrew and Tim McGrew. And when I watched the way that she spoke about it, she realizes the problem with minimal, or if you will, the minimal facts arguments. And if she sees those problems, she knows she's just got to go all in, or else Christianity really does fall apart, like if you take it to its conclusions. So she goes to this maximalist view, and of course, everything. She's not an inerrantist, of course. Don't straw man, don't pigeonhole like that and pretend that that's the case. But they are harmonizers. And Dale Allison Jr. has been emailed. He's a Christian as well. He's been emailed by them, and he said, I've read a little bit of their stuff, and he's like, they're harmonizers. And he said Strauss, 150 years ago, already like put this whole case to rest. It might be longer than that. So people who keep trying to harmonize these different authors and different texts to make them all match and fit and stuff, he said that's just wishful thinking. And so that maximal case, honestly, I'd be interested in picking it apart thoroughly, and not just what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of like, and maybe someone's going, you're dismissive. You haven't really picked it apart. So I get it. Maybe at some point we will take a magnifying glass and show why they're reading into this the way they're doing, and what are the motives for them coming to these conclusions. Maybe they have good motives. Maybe they think skeptics dismiss the Gospels and the historical reliability in some respects to them. And I get it. That happens. But I think there's good reason to also doubt and be very skeptical of what's being said there. There's no reason, in my opinion, to read this literature and go, he really actually did rise from the dead, unless you personally have an experience that's coupled with this. I don't see any reason why anyone reading this literature would draw that conclusion. Thank you so much for the super chat. Topic discussed. Congrats on 50K. Got to give my boy a shout out here. Topic discussed. Gary. Gary, I'm heading to the west here soon, and I'll be closer to you, which means we're going to have to kick it. This is his YouTube channel. If you don't want to boil in God's broth for all eternity, right? Because we know that's true. Go subscribe to my buddy Gary. He talks about all sorts of stuff. He's scientific minded, so he is all about getting rid of the bunk. And I want to have Gary on soon to talk about his leaving Mormonism. But I do not want to tease you with anything more than that. Gary has not only a deep story, but a history, and his family's ancestry is coupled in all the way to Joseph Smith. So it's going to be a fascinating story to discuss Gary's amazing history and his family and his involvement with the Mormon church to the point where he's finally had to say goodbye. And trust me, that's not easy to do. It is not easy to say goodbye to something that you've had your whole life, and your father, your mother, your father, everybody has been all vested into this, and he is finally waking up today. So it'll be interesting to get his story. Please subscribe to my friend. Thank you, Gary, for the super chat, man, for real. I love being a team player. It makes me feel good. It's like the first thing came to mind is kind of like, it's going to sound bad, but the people who are asking for money panhandling, but they are legitimately homeless, and you give them money and you know that they're eating or that it helped them. It's like helping them. But the sad part why I giggled is like, I don't mean to equate the other YouTubers with that analogy as if they're that. I'm saying it feels good to give, especially when you feel like people could use that help. So that why did my head go to that? Anyway, you got to see my fallibility for a moment there, but I'm really infallible. Alan's English Lessons super sticker. Thank you, Alan. Did you have a comment? Just showing some love. Thank you, Alan. Making sure I didn't miss your comment. Mr. Penna's tutoring. Christians took comfort and joy in the fact that there is an afterlife. Now, how do you take comfort in the face of mortality, knowing that the suffering life is all there is? Word for the hopeless. Ooh, this is a deep, deep question, especially as someone who believed there was going to be an afterlife and even wishes, as an atheist, I wish there was something. I don't want all the party to end. I wish there was better than this. I wish there was. But I'm not going to give you hocus pocus wishes or pretend that's the case. So where I stand is now, I don't remember. I remember being a very young kid, but I don't remember being born, and I don't remember being before I was born. And I think that's what's going to happen when we die. It's not going to matter at the end of the day. And because everything that we love and want and are protecting is here in this life, we don't want to let that go. So there's that hope that it won't be let go. Don't worry when a parent dies, when a loved one is gone. Like, there's something psychologically satisfying not having to say goodbye forever, right? There's something that makes you feel good about that. When I started studying other traditions, and I found out, well, some traditions have ancestry worship. They believe their loved ones somehow still live on with them, either in their memories or somehow around us in some way, and they still worship their ancestors. They didn't let them go. But some of them didn't even have a post-mortem thing. They believed that in some sense they'd exist with them forever, but there was no afterlife, heaven and hell. And I think studying more other ideas of different traditions will help you kind of understand how they understood and dealt with this question that's different from the Abrahamic, well, specifically Christian, maybe late Second Temple Judaism, Christian, and of course, Islamic explanations for the post-mortem situation. Now, as far as psychologically, this is hard to explain, because when I deconverted from Christianity, I felt like it was a death, or at least I was saying goodbye to my best friend who was dying to me, and that was Jesus. I felt like I was saying goodbye to someone that I loved, and you couldn't give me words to just simply comfort me. I had to process that and think about it. And what helped me was studying origins of where these stories come from and why humans would have invented ideas of hell or heaven, you name it. That started to help me process it, but it took time. So if I could give you a word, a wise word for the hopeless or the people who are experiencing that, it's like trying to give words to people who are experiencing pain of losing a loved one. And all I could do is just be there for you and try to, like, let you experience it and try to get through it, and understanding we're dealing with reality. I can't promise you things that I think is a false promise. I'm not going to lie. But I'm also one of those atheists that does wish there was something. I wish that were the case. But I also hope that science develops and evolves to a point where we can help better our health and how long we exist here on Earth in this existence. Can we extend our life, and our lifespans can go longer and stuff? That'd be awesome to figure that out. There's also so many other problems we're dealing with as humanity. And are we going to make ourselves go extinct? Are we a self-sustainable creature? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in my mind when I look at this scientifically. But as far as this seems coming from an emotional standpoint, I would say it's a process, and it's not easy. That's why that fail-safe Jonathan M.S. Pierce was mentioning yesterday on the live stream about heaven and hell. Well, if all else fails, we'll scare them into believing. We'll make them feel like they're really letting go of everything if they don't follow and believe in our path. And I think that's psychologically a bullying kind of perspective in a sense. It's wrong the way that church has really kindled those fires. I don't know if I quite even answered the question, but I just hope that more people will enjoy what we have and try to help with the suffering that we are experiencing here. I get it. Some people will never see justice, so they want there to be something after to see that justice or reward or whatever. It's a psychological thing. Thank you so much for the super chat. I felt like I had to really take time to give you where I'm coming from on that one. Grays, do you ever have fundamentalists on just to talk but not debate? I'd love to see you interview people like James White. I wouldn't mind talking to James White. I think I've actually called into his show back in the day before I left Christianity and was in the Reformed camp, and asked him specific questions within Calvinism and whatnot. I wouldn't mind having a conversation with the guy, but he's a presuppositionalist. I mean, the guy, like, it'd be like I don't know how that conversation would go, but it would be really interesting to hear him pretty much dismiss me, because he'd be like, you're like, we have no common ground. In fact, I'll give you an example. Michael Jones, who's far more, I would say, more progressive than James White and the folks like him. But Michael Jones said, like, he doesn't have anything to talk to when it comes to atheists who deny that there was an empty tomb, that like that tomb was made up. There are non-atheists who think that. John Dominic Crossan, who actually says that there was no actual empty tomb. The Gospels created that account. And I'm like, I get why he wouldn't want to have that conversation, because if he can't at least agree to that, then where are you going to go from there? Anyway, I wouldn't mind having conversations with James White. I wouldn't mind. Maybe we will make that happen at some point. The guy's far more intelligent in different ways than I am. But, you know, when very smart people, way smarter than me, believe in things that I'm like, why are you justified in believing that? There has to be some type of psychological, or your upbringing, your surroundings. You are carrying on the baton of your father who might have been a preacher, or you were raised in this. Like, what is it that drives you to be there? Anyway, Grace, thank you for that question. Stop Scamming Man. MythVision, a theological seminary like no other. Really glad you got that 50K. You deserved it for a long time. Thank you so much. I've been wondering, like, when is YouTube gonna like put me on the wave, the algorithm wave? It's really been a blunder. I'm like, what the heck? Why is it not like something has to go viral? One of these videos has to take off and people recognize it. But it's also a very niche thing that I do. And very few people like you, MythVisionaries, are into this stuff, it seems. And I'm trying to get more people interested in it. I really do appreciate that support. Stop Scamming Man. Craigenford. Oh, snap. Dude, first of all, congratulations on your channel. I'm pulling it up right now. Listen to this. This is the exact point I was just making about YouTube. This guy, John White, is not only one of the most humble guys I've talked to, but I love this guy. And he's in the Proto-Indo-European mythologies and their connections to myths from Sumeria to Greece and Rome and you name it. Mesopotamia. That's a backpack blower. The lawnmower guy's blowing the driveway. All of the above. Like, this guy has worked very hard. His channel had like 7,000 subscribers like 2 months ago. John, am I right or wrong, man? Like 7,000 subscribers to 8 or 9,000. Maybe it was 10. I can't remember. He passed me in 2 months. YouTube has put a light on his channel. There's that backpack blower again. I'm so proud of you, man. I'm so glad that you finally are getting the recognition you deserve, because you've been working so hard. And every single video you've done has deep research. You're a specialist in this area. Why? I was wondering, like, what is stunting you from, growing? I hope you can make this a full-time job and you can do this all the time, John. And I'd love to interview you again and do more with you as time goes. I really want to see more connections you've discovered on the Proto-Indo-European stuff and how it's leaked down into modern myths or into mythologies later. Seriously, man, congrats. I'm putting this in the chat. Everybody go subscribe to John White's YouTube channel, Craigenford. Hallelujah, dude. So proud of you. The hardest working YouTuber I know. And remember to look after yourself. John, thank you, man. That means a lot coming from you. I appreciate the super chat, and I appreciate your hard work. Titan, hello, humans. Well done, Derek. What do you think about Christopher John? That name sounds familiar. Hold up. Let me look it up. Okay, I'm looking it up on YouTube. I have not dug into this guy much, but I don't know. I'd have to look into it. If he's, I'd have to look into him, man. I'm not 100% sure, but he might be someone worth checking out. He might be into conspiracies. I'm not really sure. I need to look into it. But appreciate you with the comment. Have you thought about doing something concerning the new Trump cult? I actually was talking to, there's a cult psychologist who's written books on cults and stuff, and I wanted to have him explain what is going on with that. Like, is it a cult? Because look, just like religions, there's cults in other ways. And I wanted to do that, and he never responded to me. But maybe someday, if he does, I would love to have that conversation, because it's more than just a Trump cult. Like, there's cults everywhere, all over the place, of fanatics that follow people like this. So, yeah, thank you for the comment. Science Seeker says, MythVision podcast, I'm a non-Abrahamic monotheist. I don't believe in soul. I believe in mind and have no belief in angels as God's helpers. Why does God need help? Thank you. I mean, maybe God needed help because he wasn't always omnipotent. He needed others to help do things for him because he wasn't able to do all things. And then eventually we start to categorize, like, the 4-star general. Well, why are there so many other people in the military? Because he can't do everything, but he has a high status in the military. I mean, it seems like an evolutionary model will explain all this. Stop scamming, man. Hi again. A great way to look up hadith content for free is go on sunnah.com. You can browse with keywords to get hadiths with those words in them. I'm wondering if you're specifically discussing something I said earlier, but yes, stop scamming, man. I've seen you over at Apostate Prophets all the time, of course, and then you started coming over and checking out my content too. Maybe you knew about me before that. I don't know. But I really do appreciate you always being in the chat, especially when I'm doing stuff that I'm trying to explore Islamic origins and the Quran and things like that. But you support me in every way, shape, or form. So I do appreciate that. Sunnah.com, if you want to dig deep into the Quran or the Hadith. Well, not the Quran, like you said, into the biography of Muhammad or Hadith, I suspect you can go there. Mr. Monster, his name is Morg. That's right. Pretty cool guy. I catch his live streams. However, you can't say I believe in pantheism. I just believe humanity's capabilities to create. Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Monster, for the super chat. I've never really dove into Morg's stuff. I've seen some of his videos that I like, and some of them I'm like, I don't know about that. But if it helps people to believe in something like that, I don't see the harm in being like pantheistic. I don't know. It's not like they're shoving hell down your throat, right? Derek, that's a lot of Ks, and you deserve many more. All the best. Thank you. Derek, can you talk about animism and primitive religions in the future? Yes. I want to get into that because I think it's a foundational thing to where we are today. Like, I think without animism, we wouldn't have seen the development of religions the way we do. And yeah, I would love to talk to an expert who's aware of it and what we can know, because that goes way back there. But I think remnants of it find itself in later versions of mythology or in these religions that probably stem back before a lot of these mythologies. In fact, John White, the show I was showing you, Craigenford, probably goes into a lot of this stuff in the Proto-Indo-European mythologies. Ruby Snow, thank you for the super sticker. Ruby, did you have a chat? Okay, I don't see Ruby has a chat. I just want to make sure. Thank you for that sticker. Someone says, MythVision, by leaving Christianity, you did not leave Jesus. You left Paul. Jesus stays in your heart, whether you know it or not. I made a post about this on Twitter the other day, where I've had Christians tell me, Derek, you're still a Christian, you just don't know it. Or you're still a believer, or God's spirit is still in you, you just don't know it. And the reason I think they say that is because morally, I do care and I help other people when they struggle with addiction, or I do good things and things like that. And they're like, there's no way he's an atheist. He just doesn't, he's confused. He doesn't know what he is. And I'm like, I think they mean well. Like this statement here, this is probably somebody who believes in Jesus's message, but thinks Paul was wrong. And I think you mean well, but I think projecting that stuff onto people personally is wrong. I think projecting, if I was a Buddhist and you were like, you're still a Christian, dude, whether you like it or not, you're still a follower of Jesus. Jesus still lives in you. I just think projecting that kind of stuff is just not healthy for communication with people. Like, I don't see, if you told me you were not a Muslim, I'm not going to go, listen, whether you like it or not, Allah's presence is with you and Muhammad truly is your prophet, but you don't know it. You know what I mean? You don't really know it. You disagree with the Sunni, but you're a Shia, or you disagree with Shia, but you're a Sunni in the heart, and you don't really know it. Maybe they mean well, but I don't know if that's going to help the conversation by saying something like that. Hold on one second. My little brother Kurt is calling me on Messenger. Brother, you're live on MythVision podcast. Say hey to everybody.
What's up, everybody?
Say it louder.
How's everybody doing? You got me looking crazy, bro. What's up, everybody?
Yeah, everybody's on the live. That's my brother Kurt. And bro, you want me to call you back?
Yeah, hit me back. I love you, bro.
Love you, dude.
Later.
Anyway, John, I think you mean well. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I just don't think it helps conversation. I don't think it helps projecting onto people that kind of stuff. I'm going to butcher this. Synapsion? Am I saying that right? Thank you for the super chat. You seem like a wholesome dude. Why do theists think people can't be good without God, especially when their God appears to be evil? Well, putting myself back into a theist perspective the way I was, which not all theists are like this. I was a radical, hardcore fundamentalist. But I think it's because they start with the definition, God is good. So when your worldview encapsulates the meaning of good, and if anything in your perception looks good, it must come from God. So they start with that and go, there's no way you cannot believe in God, some of them, and do good. And even if you do, it's not really good. God's grace is on you or something, depending on the version of Christianity. But when you start with God is good, and that's your definition for God, and anything good that comes from in the world, you start to project that. That's why some people probably think I'm still a believer in some sense, because I do things according to them that are good. They'll say they're vain good deeds because they don't count and they won't matter at the end of the days or whatever. Some of them actually accept the good deeds and say, Derek, you're a good human. And I think at the end of the day, when God is there and he goes to have judgment, he's going to weigh those out and say, you know, you did really good in your life. You turned it around. You really wanted to help people. But the idea that atheists can't do good without God, there's some Christians that are so radical, like where I was, where you weren't really doing good just because you were intrinsically wanting to do good for other people without a selfish intent. You were doing it only for the benefit of yourself. You were so self-centered and selfish that it looks like you're really a good person, but you're really not. That's why they go back to you're a wretched sinner and you're nothing. Only God is good. In fact, that question, good and faithful master, or something they asked Jesus, why do you call me good? There is none good but God. So they're fundamentalists to interpret this way, and their whole perception literally encapsulates that. And it's really sad because they can't think outside of those basic things because they worship the text. They worship the text in a literal way, and there's no nuance. There are pastors and preachers. These are the things I combat on MythVision. Anyway, hope that answers your question. Great question. I know that it could go way deeper than that, and you could really spell this out and break it down. But I think that's the reason. I think they value the text so much so they're presuppositionalist. They can't let it go. That's their world, and they can't see anything else. And I'm a bit repetitive when I explain, so forgive me on that. I get it from my mama. 8K a month ago. Bro, whatever magic juice you have, mail some to me because you're over in Europe somewhere. I need some of that. How did you go from 8K to 52,000 subs in a month? You passed me, bro. So congratulations again. I hope you do this full time, man. And he said, thank you. Thank you. Grays, would you say Christianity or Islam has better evidence? Oh, I mean, like their claims are faith claims overall. And the one thing about I think they're both equally lacking in that evidence department, unless you count literature, people saying something as evidence. I mean, look at Suetonius, right? I was just reading this last night. I was just reading the passage in Suetonius, Lives of the Caesars, about Caesar Augustus and his birth and the things they said about him. Like, I don't believe for a second any of that stuff actually happened. It's really cool to learn how people, when they valued people who were heroes to them or really important figures who changed something in their community or in their nation or in their tribe or whatever, how they put them on this pedestal and deified them on a level that is like, whoa, this guy's poop didn't stink. In fact, one time I walked past him after he used the bathroom and there was a whole row of roses. I mean, they go so beyond. And I don't believe that. The one thing about Islam that I think is interesting, or the Muslim faith that is better, is they are trying to humanize Jesus, because in reality, I do think that there was just a human guy that got mythologized, just like Caesar Augustus, just a human guy who's completely mythologized. And they're trying to be faithful to a definition of monotheism, unlike what I think is just kind of getting really convoluted and weird because of philosophy and its impact on early church fathers, which made them come up with Trinitarian concepts and such. But as far as evidence goes, what's the evidence? Like, I don't really get it. Like, well, Muhammad said he was going to do this and it happened, and they won this little battle over here. They conquered this area, and sure enough, he did it. How do I know that that's the case, that he said that, or this literature being written about it happened before? And even if it did, you can flip a coin on whether they're going to conquer it or not. And what kind of means did he try to provide to ensure they won that battle? Did they get a lot of these Christians that live in the regions to help join them in battle, so they had more numbers? There's all sorts of stuff that I can rationalize. I can't really say which one has better evidence. It's full of mythology and Christianity and legend and tropes that are right there in the Greco-Roman world. If you look at the zeitgeist, that to me, that's like, why are we thinking that this is absolutely true, other than a guy had an experience? So at least you have Paul, who claims he had an experience, that he experienced Christ, but that isn't even defined in Paul. And Paul is our only eyewitness in the New Testament to Jesus' resurrection. And like, what did he see? What does he mean? He does not define it. It only gets defined based on the Gospels' later accounts. So and so when it comes to Islam, like, it's later stuff where they start to make miracles, or like Muhammad split the moon, things like that. They may say a hint of that might be in the Quran. I just don't see evidence to need to believe in these things. These are traditions. Sorry to get roused up, but I don't understand what the evidence is that is so convincing for some now that I've left. Have you heard of Robert Sefer, Atlantean Guardians? Yes, I have. Damn Bigfoot, thank you for the super chat. I did a video actually critiquing this. Particularly, he's talking about the out of Africa theory. I'm going to bring that up. Out of Africa MythVision. Let's do that. And that way you could see it was a really interesting debunk video, if you will, because I'm not so sure the gentleman is aware of what he's talking about. So I speak to people who are actually scientific. And in this interview, Gutsit Gibbon, her YouTube channel is an awesome one. She is right there in the vein of the evolution, anthropology, all of that stuff. And she like rips some of the stuff he says apart in this video. I think the guy thinks aliens brought humans or certain forms of humans to Earth or something. I can't remember. It sounds like a conspiracy kind of theory. And people go, you throw that conspiracy word out, you're just dismissing things. You're not really diving into the material. No, I mean, there are videos out there. You can go to David Miano. He's a great archaeologist who is diving into this material, and he's picking apart with facts a lot of the theories that are out there of ancient technologies and you name it. There are others who also debunk this, like Gutsit Gibbon was taking it apart. Mark said, speak in tongues. I can only do it with my shades on today. See, I still have the Holy Spirit. See, I just proved to some Christians that I still have the Holy Spirit because I spoke in tongues. I mean, what more evidence do you need, Derek? You're really a Christian because you just did what you can't do without the Holy Ghost. Topic discuss again. Sent you a message in Messenger. Check it out if you have a slow minute during the Ask Me. Okay. Gary says, not sure if you are inviting hangouts during your AMA, but I have recent experience with death that made me think differently about the afterlife. I'd be happy to jump on and discuss the afterlife for a few minutes if you want. And then he blew me kisses. Thank you, Gary. Thank you. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll share the link to you real quick. I don't want to spend too much time here, but I would love to get your insight on that because I do at some point today, I got to work on my dang house. Contractor's still not here, but I can get started painting one of the rooms. Hagarashima. Okay, thank you for that super chat, Gary. I sent you the link on Messenger in case you pop in. Mr. Monster, congratulations. Can't wait for the next milestone. I have learned so much from your channel, and then happy you and Price are friends again. Thank you so much, Mr. Monster. I appreciate the super chat, the love. There ain't nothing wrong with getting along and singing Kumbaya and having friends. Really do appreciate that. I'm skipping down here. Someone said Mormon book reviews. I'd love to chat with you sometime. Email me, Derek@MythVisionPodcast.com. Narin Assyrian, thank you for the super chat. Did you have a comment? I have met many atheists with high moral. Thank you so much. I agree. I seriously appreciate the support. I had to make sure I found your chat because I figured you probably dropped one. I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt when they drop a chat. I have too. And you know what's interesting is some of the most outstanding people I've ever met in society were in some of the darkest places in their previous life, like addiction, drug addiction. Some have turned out to be some of the greatest people because they know what it feels like to suffer. And so the one goal they not only want for themselves is to not suffer, but to want others not to suffer. So if you've suffered bad, like it can really change you and make you want to help others not suffer. That's something I think. I was smart once. Then I became stupid. Ace, appreciate the chat, man. You're helping YouTube with the algorithm. Thank you. Repetitive, but well worth hearing again, Derek. Thank you. My wife would beg to differ. Zachary, that's a good question. So I'm not sure which question this is. Graves with the super chat. Have you ever gone into the logic of Jesus died for your sins? Seems like a weird concept that gets taken for granted and doesn't ever get explained. Yes, there's an episode with me and Jonathan M.S. Pierce on the resurrection book that he did. Let me pull that up. S. Pierce, resurrection, MythVision. And I'm going to share that, show you. So I got part 1, part 2. There's a whole series of these with Jonathan M.S. Pierce where we actually pick apart the atonement, what it means. And in fact, you could go so far to say the fact that Jesus didn't stay dead, according to that the soteriology, his atonement doesn't even count because he's not dead. He died temporarily, but that's it, and then comes back. So even if you account for their position, like he comes back, so they reverse the atonement. Dag nabbit, your sins were forgiven for 3 days, but not anymore. I mean, you could argue all sorts of stuff. Anyway, unless you want to say Jesus is still dead, but his soul or his spirit or his pneuma, that's what ascended. And in fact, there are scholars, James Tabor, John Dominic Crossan, and other academics who will say that very thing. They believe Paul believed Jesus actually died, his body literally dead in a grave, his body stayed. But his pneuma or his being, his spirit, whatever, had an apotheosis just like Romulus, Alexander the Great, Hercules, the list can go on. And they think that they can argue that from 1 Corinthians 15. And of course, the surrounding context of the Greco-Roman world, the Jewish Greco-Roman world. Thank you so much. Callan M. MythVision in lockdown helped me emerge from 20 years of cognitive dissonance, Fundamentalism. God and Anatomy book after your show opened my eyes. Wow. I love her book. That means a lot. It really does. I'd love to be able to communicate. Feel free to email me, and I'd love to hear more about what your experience was like in that transition. So I can't say anything but thank you for that. I'm glad that it's helped you. And if what I've done or my conclusions and things I'm going to don't help you, don't follow them. If you are having an existential crisis because you have to believe in Jesus, like who's the guy who constantly talks about the Shroud of Turin? Otangelo, for those who are on the internet world and Discord worlds and stuff like that. Otangelo, like, when all else fails, he brings up the Shroud of Turin. And he watched the video that I've done with this expert on the Shroud, who's an academic historian on the Shroud. The guy says it's not the Shroud of Jesus. It's a 13th century forgery or a made up. The church was making all of these things all the time. He still couldn't. Okay, I get it. Otangelo, you have to have Jesus, and you have to use Jesus as a hammer to the whole world because you're insecure about your conclusions that Jesus is what he is in your life. I get it. I was insecure, and I loved a phrase back in the day that Robert Price once said at a Skepticon, and he was actually quoting another skeptic who said something like, the apologist is at war with themselves. The whole reason they're going out of their way to prove Jesus and to try and support the Jesus claim is to convince themselves of the doubts they have about this conclusion. So they need apologetics to make sure that their conclusions aren't dumb in their head. They need to have a psychological satisfaction with the conclusions they come to. I think they're right. I think that's the case. So when you see an apologist just nonstop, it's true, I got to have it, there's something going on. And I think they know there are problems, so they're trying to make themselves convince themselves psychologically of their conclusions. Now we have a special guest, Gary.
Hey, Derek, how are you?
What's up, brother?
Congratulations on 50,000.
Thank you, man. So for your discussion, I figured a couple minutes, I'm going to turn on the music and let it loop. And then you can share with us what your experience with the death thing is and make it kind of more emotional. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, I don't know how emotional it'll be, but yeah, that's cool.
Okay. We'll try and make it like that. Ready?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, just recently, actually, I guess it is somewhat emotional. About 14 or 15 years ago, my sister died unexpectedly. And we, to help my mom and dad, losing a child is terrible, right? So to help my mom and dad, we got them a puppy named Gracie. And so when we were, so that dog has been with them for 14 or 15 years, and dachshunds only live about 16 years. So this week, that dog, Gracie, died of old age, right? And so that was really hard on my parents. And there's always this question that I think people believe religion helps you with, and maybe for some people it does. Mm-hmm. And it's the question is, well, where do we go after this life?
Right.
And so I was thinking about that. My mom kind of mentioned that because, this reminded her of Jenny, my sister's death. And so in the tradition in our family, we've had dachshunds my whole life. So when we lose one of those dogs, we have a burial ceremony in my parents' yard. So I dug a hole and I got the grave ready, and I picked up this dog Gracie, and I saw her little ear, furry little ear, and it did make me sad that we lost this dog. When I picked her up to put her in the grave, that I felt the stiffness of her body, and I saw her tongue hanging out. And I didn't say this to my mom because she needed to think about life after death, but when people ask the question, what happens after we die, what happened to Gracie is what happens when we die. That's what we observe. There isn't anything else unless we've made it up, right? And so if I were to really observe what happens when we die or anything dies, is it discontinues it working in the way that it was working, right? So her brain stopped, and her blood stopped flowing, and that results in the body beginning to decay. I did make sure that we buried her next to a tree so that we can then honor her life by hanging ornaments on that tree. But I just think, if you can suspend all of these things that we need to make us feel better about the difficulties of life, if we can suspend making things up and lean into the moment, you can actually understand more clearly what's happening. Recognize what's happening. This life has ended. The body is going to degrade, decompose. That's what's happening after death. Her brain isn't working. Her heart's not working. It's over for that. But her body will disintegrate and go into the ground and become part of nature. That's also just as inspiring, and that's really all we have. That's all that we can say we know. That's what happens when we die. That's my comment.
And you're obviously psychologically satisfied. Like, it's okay. Not that it's completely okay. Of course, if it was someone closer, not an animal, but like, let's say a child or a sibling or a spouse or something like that, or a parent, then it would be a different level of psychological trauma that you would be experiencing. And so I get it. It's something that, like, I don't think anything you say, even by promising an afterlife, really helps, because they're still not with you here. So
yeah, that's right. When my sister died, that's exactly what happened. We have very devout Mormons. We had a Mormon funeral for her, and I remember people coming up to me afterwards and saying, "Aren't you so glad you have the gospel? Because now you really know where Jenny is and that you're going to see her again." And I remember, and aren't you are so much better off than the rest of the world. And I remember looking at this woman who said that to me at the funeral, and I was like, that doesn't make me feel any better. It doesn't make me feel any better, because this thing that I have with Jenny, the relationship that I have with her, is over. Even if I see her again in some afterlife that we've made up, it's not the same. She won't be the same. We won't have the same relationship. We'll be in some weird other world. I don't even know what that'll look like. It could be with crowns, or it could be with godhood, or whatever. It's not. It's over. It ended. And what I had to learn through that experience is to lean into those feelings, because it makes you more resilient over time. It makes you more empathetic over time. I wanted to say one other thing about you and empathy. I've listened to you today, and you said that many people have made comments, and I agree with these comments, that you are very the construct is, well, Derek really seems like a Christian. Well, that's because of how empathetic you are, and your empathy comes from your experiences. It doesn't come from necessarily religious belief. I could not knock it out of you. It's also, and I know that some of your viewers may not like that I am kind of like just a real naturalist, but it's also in your DNA. Literally, It's in your genome. I could not knock this trait out of you if I tried, and it's something that just happened to be the right mixture for you and the right experiences for you, and it's awesome and grateful that you are who you are. So congratulations.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it, man. Seriously, I could go on and on with this and just chatting about it. But at the end of the day, I think selling people that lie can be at times noble. You're just trying to psychologically give them comfort, but deceitful at the end of the day as well, because there's a lot of baggage that comes with this. So there's a lot of problems that can come from it, and there's a lot of good. I really appreciate you coming on to say hey, and I hope everybody goes subscribe to Topic Discuss. I am a member of his YouTube channel as well, and I see you're growing too. But we are going to have to do that interview at some point.
Yeah, I'm ready to do the interview, and I'm excited about it. I want to make sure we take the right amount of time, and so anyway, I'm going to let you go. And
okay, brother,
you for letting me on. See ya.
Thank you. Bye. Great guy. Gary has been a friend now, I'd say for the last year, approximately. He reached out, and he was in the Mormon church, but listening to things that come on MythVision. And of course, he's scientific minded, but he was definitely still a believer in some way in Mormonism. I think over time, just the journey and the research and the studying he's done also made him want to start a podcast, because he's been on that path even before I think he met me, but I think it's helped. Some of the stuff we brought up has helped. And I just recommend everybody go show support to Gary, because he's talking about topics that I don't talk about. And he is part of the community. Normalizing Atheism as well as another YouTube channel I hope everybody goes and subscribes to. Pass the Mic is always running behind that. And they recently had a conference that they did, the Better Conference, where normalizing atheism was the whole point. You know, we want to normalize people who don't believe, make it a normal thing. And I think Jonathan Pierce said something about, like, there's nobody who's in the Senate or any political power that are outright publicly calling themselves an atheist. Everyone in some way, shape, or form is a theist, and they all have publicly made this point. That's pretty interesting to think about. So you kind of wonder if people weren't still holding on to some of these ideas, if laws like Roe versus Wade wouldn't have been overturned, or other things. So something to think about. Al Canastrero, thank you so much for the super chat. Afterlife, philosopher Bernardo Castro of Essentia Foundation has reframed the concept in a way consistent with logic and science, and which preserves meaning. Sorry. So I actually interviewed philosopher Bernardo Castro, and he has an idealism, a form of idealism, where he thinks that there's a mind that made all of this, the universe and all. It's not a perfect mind. It's trying to work itself out. And yeah, he has figured out a way to try and make it consistent where it would work. But I still think naturalism at the end of the day does make better sense. There's a discussion on Digital Gnosis YouTube channel where Bernardo Castro is talking with Graham Oppie, the philosopher from Australia. And they had a conversation, and I talked to Graham about this, and he just thought there's a lot of assumptions in quantum mechanics that are being made by Bernardo that, if they're not true, everything Bernardo says is not the case. And we don't even know if they are the case. So his philosophy is built on this idea that quantum mechanics works in a certain way, which that's way over my head. But it gives meaning. I like the idea much more than I do typical biblical Christianity type of understandings of things. So, and Bernardo is a brilliant, brilliant person. I really love, he's a great guy. I love chatting with him. But you kind of wonder, like, I don't know. I don't know what to make of some of this stuff. I don't disregard it. I just think it makes more sense. A natural world makes more sense to me, especially in light of some of the things that are being little, what we call quirks or problems of death in the universe and stuff. And a mind that's making that, there's a lot of death in this universe. That why would a mind do this? Is it a bad mind? Could it not have helped the crap that happens in this universe? I don't know. Generic Internet, thank you for the super chat. You said, I know Jews believe in a resurrection of the dead, according to Tovia Singer, but what do they believe happens to those who haven't repented after the resurrection? Great question. And I'm not so sure I know the answer. It probably depends on the form of Judaism. If we're talking about Tovia Singer's form, I really don't know that answer. I could ask him and message him and find out. But I know that there's definitely some type of punishment that would happen for those who think there's a post-mortem idea. And some of the Pharisees believe in the resurrection. So is it annihilation? Let me know. Someone in the chat probably knows the answer to that one. On Orthodox Judaism, what do they think happens in that case after the resurrection? Okay, getting close to the end here. I'm just looking to see if I missed anything. Okay. Oh, Eric Glow, I'm going to talk to you like a man. I put the shades on because in case I needed to speak in tongues, it was there. And, okay, I'm afraid, Eric. Look, I'm afraid. I'm actually really scared of having this conversation with you right now with my shades off. But I guess I'll have the conversation with them off. You had to call me out in front of everybody like that. It's really embarrassing. Anyone else with a question? Before I go, I'm about to get off of here and go paint. Jordan Peterson would be a great to talk to specifically about myth, story, and archetypes. He doesn't respond to my emails. Congrats on the 500,000. It's actually just half of 100,000, but yeah. Out of shampoo my crotch. Hold up, that just skipped ahead. Thank you. I'm glad my pressure is getting to you. God bless you. Thank you, Eric. Your pressure is getting to me. It's overwhelming. It's a bit overwhelming. Sunglasses. Empathy is in, out. Do you think Carrier's celestial Jesus could be consistent with the Old Testament? I'm not convinced of the celestial Jesus model at all. And I could go into many reasons why. I just don't find that to make the most sense. When you have a Jew named Paul who mentions Jesus was crucified, I mentioned this last night in a long conversation with Justin Best, who's a mythicist. And so you got Paul in the 50s writing letters talking about Jesus being crucified. You have Philo, talks about crucifixion, Jews being crucified. You have Josephus, talks about crucifixion, Jews being crucified. You have non-Jewish historians talking about crucifixion as a model of torture that was done to those who either were rebelled or whatever they did to Rome that caused them to be crucified. And then here's this guy sandwiched in between all of this actual on earth crucifixion. And then you have gospels. I know, Derek, you're barking up mythology and legend and historical fiction and this and this and that. I know, whatever. Then you have gospels, which are written couple decades later. The earliest gospel is written after Paul, and he puts this crucifixion on earth like Philo, like Josephus, like other historians. I see no reason in my mind, I think it's ad hoc, to propose, oh, well, by the way, and then Jesus in Paul's mind was actually crucified in heaven only. I'm willing to go so far as to use a mythicist model and say maybe there's possibly dualism in mind or some form of Jesus' actual crucifixion on earth is reflective of something in heaven? Sure. I'm willing to grant these ideas, especially in Hebrews, where there's perfect forms in the heavens. That's Platonism. But Paul might be a Stoic who isn't even Platonic. And I just interviewed a scholar. It's on my Patreon. Exactly the point I should bring up here is I have been absolutely busting my you-know-what to edit and still work on the house and still do this and still do live streams to keep MythVision alive. This is a clip that I'm going to be releasing today that was on History Valley of my super chat asked of John Dominic Crossan. Troels Enberg Peterson is an academic who's written on Paul within Stoicism. I don't want to get caught up too far, but it seems to be the most likely case. Paul thinks this guy Jesus was crucified and buried. And then he does what all the others do, has an apotheosis, where he has divinized this figure, and he has these personal experiences with this figure. Maybe when we're reading stuff like where Romulus appears to, who is the Roman at the time in which they saw him come to him after he died and says, hey, the gods have taken me, my time was up and all that. They act like this was like someone had an experience of him after he was dead. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Romans had ancestral worship. So it wouldn't shock me if they were having experiences with their ancestors, maybe even experiences with Romulus. Paul has an experience with Jesus. Okay, this is probably a common thing that people have experiences with their gods or with people they've divinized or whatever. They've gone into the astral realm. Cool. So I don't see why we need to put Jesus in outer space, personally. But I would like to ask everybody, if you don't want to get thrown into outer space, into outer darkness, join the Patreon. You'll be completely saved from all the archons, all the demons, all the bad things. We protect you over here. Jesus versus Caesar, John Dominic Crossan, all this stuff is not public yet. Robert G. Hoyland in Islam. I say this in all my lives. I always show it. This is really fun. On the Book of Revelation and the Beast, the Mark of the Beast with John Dominic Crossan. Like, I busted my hump doing a lot of this stuff. And this is what's helped me fund being able to do MythVision full time. So I do a lot of that. And there's a community here where we talk a lot. You can message me. You can go down and hit load more at the bottom, and there's hundreds of more pages of content, hundreds of videos that are not public there, by the way. All right, back to the screen. Tim Cashapp, here in the UK, football, soccer, is every bit the religion as any other. Brings people together, causes bloodshed and division, tribalism. That is such a good point. I 100% agree. It's the same with politics. That's the same thing with politics. It brings people together. It's super divisive or divisive. People are killing each other over it. Tribalism 101 all over again. And I get a bad taste in my mouth. Like, people, what's your favorite football team? What's yours? I'll go with yours today. I don't have one. Which political party are you absolutely in with? I'm not, don't pigeonhole me, but I lean as a liberal. I agree with a lot of things that are said on that side that I think the far right have a lot of problems. You know, like the list can go on and on. So I seriously appreciate you recognizing that, because I think it's just a human trait to have that tribalism built in. But I'm trying to, what was it? Who was it that wrote about becoming beyond human? Like the superhuman. He got misinterpreted by a lot of racist German scholars. I cannot think. My brain is burnt already from the live stream, I think. Help me out in the chat, somebody. Advertising for my debate next Saturday. Have you created a link yet to advertise the human Jesus? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I already have it up on my channel. I'm getting distracted. ADHD's kicking in. Let me share my screen and show everybody next week. This is exactly what I was showing earlier in the live stream. And it is, whoa, hold on. Where is it at? Here it is. Is Jesus God? This is the debate that's going on next week. And the human Jesus is exactly what his name is saying, the human Jesus. Jesus was a human, not God. And he's going to be debating Apollo's Christianity, who was in the chat at the beginning of this live stream, on this topic. And I will be obviously the neutral host. And yeah, I look forward to it. Thank you for showing up in the chat, my friend Carlos. I think this is Carlos. All right, somebody help me. Who was it? Nietzsche. Thank you. I knew someone would help me. Nietzsche talked about the superhuman. So yeah, everybody knew this, and I'm like the last one to get it. But guess what? Paul was the last one, and he was better than the rest. I'm just kidding. Anyone else? As we wrap things up here, I got to put the music on. We're going to do different this time. Get the piano. Make everybody tingle with sensation in their bosoms with the Holy Ghost. Hey, thank you for coming on. I look forward to it. I'm going to just be allowing you and Apollos to have this debate, and it'll be interesting because I'm actually going to be interviewing other academics who, James McGrath, for example, who's wrote extensively on the monotheism of Jesus in the New Testament. How this idea of, was he really God? Did his followers think he was God? Or is this later Christians projecting onto the text? All that good stuff. So I look forward to your debate. Smack Dab, congrats on the 50K milestone. Tumblebug, good to see you here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, I really appreciate it. Princess, you missed it. Geez, it'd have been awesome if you were there. Yesterday was awesome. Oh, good old Nietzsche. Ladies and gentlemen, please go. Let me show you this. Here's the YouTube channel. We hit the 50K. Let's make it 100. Hit the subscribe, like, share this content. All of you members who become members of MythVision's YouTube channel, thank you. To those who've joined the Patreon, I seriously appreciate the support. It really, really, really means a ton. And I'm constantly producing new stuff. I've got a video I'm supposed to launch on here again today, another one. Part 2 of a deep dive, almost a college course on Paul. What else is there? I was customizing the channel to show other channels I support, but many people showed up during the chat. What else is there that I missed? Oh, and I have the website, MythVisionPodcast.com. It's not updated. It's got a lot of old stuff, but you can check out my website. I've never promoted this really on my lives. And I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat for hanging out with me, 50K subs. Seriously, I seriously appreciate it. Now we're going to do our outro. Let me stop this dang music. All right, because the apocalypse is nigh. Never forget, everybody, we are MythVision. Put these shades on.